Hello everyone, Floppy Waffle 69 here, and for today's video, we are going to be doing a little battle report on the Le Terrible. This is the sister ship to the Le Fantasque, which is a Tier 8 premium French destroyer. This was a ranked battle I had the other day, and I figured it was so good, at least in my eyes, that I figured I would go ahead and show this on my channel and do a little bit of a battle report about her. Um, the Terrible, all you need to know is that it is pretty much a copy paste whole of the what you call it, the Le Fantasque. There are some subtle differences. If we're looking at the subtle differences, essentially you have like 100 HP more than the Le Fantasque, a little bit of detectability difference, and like max speed difference, all by like a kilometer or so, or not, excuse me. Um, the big difference, though, comes in the main battery. The Le Fantasque has a 6-second reload. Le Terrible has a 5-second reload. And then for the consumables, the Le Fantasque actually has I would say, better speed boost as it lasts longer. It's 180 seconds rather than the 120. And both get access to that 15-second minus 50% reload booster. Le Terrible has a little bit of harder hitting torps. But other than that, like the ships are pretty much identical. Just altering a couple little numbers here and there to, I guess, create a difference between the two because Wargaming has been known to do that. Just tweaking numbers here and there just to make sure and ensure that there's a difference between ships that are of the same class. I'm not a big fan of it when it comes to like the hulls, for example, like the Ohio and the Montana. Having the Ohio having the vastly superior, is it rudder shift, I believe. Like I don't understand how that thing has it when it's literally the same tonnage or whatnot. They're just kind of fabricate numbers or put numbers on there. It doesn't really make too much sense to me, but at the end of the day, it's their game. They can do whatever they want. I just wish they'd kind of keep everything, in line when it cocomes to like ship-based stats, especially if they're, sister ships or whatnot, rather than just putting random numbers on ships. But that's a little bit for me. But I digress. So, anyways, with this particular game, obviously we're playing the Le Terrible. And what is the Le Terrible essentially? What does it do? What does it do well? At this point in time, at this late in the game's stage of development of the game, almost 10 years now, everyone should know that the French mainline DDs are basically light cruisers without a citadel. They are fast as all hell. They go around around mid 40 knots base with that speed boost of I think topping over 50 if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that, but they're fast. Okay, these things are a pain in the ass to shoot at, especially with anything with reasonably floaty shell arcs. Unless you have absolute laser beams, you're not really going to be reliably or consistently hitting these guys at range, and that can be very, very frustrating to deal with. Especially, I think the biggest example for me is like when you're fighting a Marseille at like 13, 14, 15 kilometers and you're Des Moines, and you swear to God you're leading him by 15 clicks or whatnot, and somehow you're still missing him. That's just kind of what these ships do. But really, the big thing about the French DDs when they came into the game is they just directly power crept the living hell out of the Russian DDs. I think the overall play style that the French DDs have was originally owned by that of the Russian DDs. I think that's still when Kaba was still the tier 10. And at that point, I mean, the Kleber just flat out destroyed the Cobb in a one-on-one engagement, especially when its main better below booster was up and running. But changes have been made to the Russian or Soviet line, and I would say it's a little bit better state than where it is now. But I would still take my Kleber over a Cobb almost any day, just because of the saturation mechanic that these French GDs have. If you don't understand what the French saturation mechanic is, basically, as we've talked about on this channel before, the hull is usually split up in like 3 different sections. The ass, the midsection, the nose, and then I guess your superstructure as well. Each section of the ship has an HP pool that correlates to the overall health of the current or of the ship. And when a section of the ship gets saturated, I believe that damage is significantly dealt less to that specific area, and you have to hit different areas of the ship. That's why when most people are, or like when I'm telling you to target specific parts of the ship, you'll actually do more damage. If you see that the nose or midsection is very heavily blackened and saturated, try to aim for the ass. As you'll just get bigger damage, essentially do more damage to the overall target and the overall target's health pool and eliminate the target faster. Essentially what saturation is, right? And the French DDs are, and I think the Cassard line has it as well. Basically, just French DDs in general, their hulls saturate quicker, meaning they have that like less HP per section. And And once this area is saturated, that means just you'll be doing less damage overall consecutively to that specific area. So make sure, especially when you're fighting ships in general, but especially the French DDs, we want to aim at multiple sections of the French DD, which is a lot easier said than done, just because the ship is so incredibly fast, as you're seeing here. Especially when in a kited position, that it's like very, good luck. Good luck is what I'm trying to tell you. I think that's why they see a lot of competitive play. And why, for me, they're just a lot of fun, is because they can kind of get away with bloody murder from time to time. That, and coupled with their speed, they can really boom and zoom anywhere across the map, get anywhere reasonably to support allies. They're very, very good support destroyers, in my opinion. They really can help. Like, for example, my Kleber, I kind of try to shadow, stealthier DDs, so that I can get the jump on a lot of other unexpected DDs who think they're only fighting, potentially a torpedo boat. That's one playstyle of the ship. Another playstyle is kind of being like the Lone Ranger, like you're seeing here. Be on a flank, kind of being that annoying little pest, where ships hopefully will turn their guns and try to shoot you, though all their shots are in vain because they're really never going to be able to hit you, just because you're so damn fast. I really like that playstyle as well. And of course, this can't be done as effectively or at all in an aircraft carrier game, just because the CVs, all they have to do is keep you spotted for the entire game. And when they keep you spotted the entire game, you become a target, and people will then shoot you. And again, the CVs will focus you and just chip you down. I mean, at the end of the day, if a CV wants you dead, you're going to die. They can focus you, which is rather sad. So, and because these ships have essentially no AA, I think the big change, like the one difference was like for the Kleber and the Marseille, which essentially are the same hull, same sister ships, right? Is that the gun caliber is different. I think you have the 127s on the Marceau, and then the Kleber has the I'm gonna butcher it. It's the 130, not one, it's 135s. I think it's 135s. And that just helps with the with AA, right? Because I think it's the same turrets on the Marseille that are Marceau that the Kleber has. Or not the Kleber, the Colbert has. So that's why. And it also gets defensive AA fire. But the Kleber's AA, dog water. Just like the Elite Terror, just like the Leaf Task. Basically, the majority of the tech tree line, I'd say the entire tech tree line, just AA in general, is a rather lackluster and an easy target for aircraft carriers. I think that's why you don't see it played as frequently anymore. Just because I think there's just a lot more CVs flying around the map, which is really making it hard for a lot of these players to play these ships. So I think they want what's easy or what's easier, and I think that's why people gravitate towards the Marseille or Marceau, whatever. If I keep saying the wrong damn name, the Marceau, just because it has defensive AA, and its AA is a little bit better, so it can deal with carriers at the it kind of alleviates that concern essentially. So. But we've been talking a lot about the French DDs as a whole, so not much about this game. So if you've been watching the game in the background, you can kind of see this developing into a loss, I would say. I have a low-tier cruiser in New Orleans on my team, and myself in the Elite Terror, and I'm going against 3 battleships. Now, usually I would say, well, 1 DD against 3 BBs, I would say, well, they have the HP advantage, but I do have the stealth advantage and the torp advantage. The problem is that in a map like this, I forget the name, I spaced it. It's very confined. It's very like tight quarters, which again can work in my favor to come around and do like a YOLO rush on ships. But I think the core problem is just so much HP that I don't have enough torpedoes to go around. So I'm gonna have to play this extremely smart and try to take targets out one by one and isolate them. I think the big threat to me. They're all secondary ships, right? The West Virginia 44 has, American secondaries, Bismarck secondaries, Ipiranga, no introduction with the secondaries. All these ships are secondary ships, and I think the problem is the Ipiranga is pretty maneuverable, not as Los Andes and Libertad maneuverable, fairly maneuverable. But then the Bismarck has the hydroacoustic search as well, which is going to be a bit of an issue because if there's one thing I've learned in this game, either when I'm a battleship player, destroyers will always have their torpedoes up and ready to go, or if I am a destroyer player, enemy battleships will always turn the wrong way. They will always zag when they should have zigged, in my opinion. It's just something that I've always come to buy into and realize that it's just always an issue for me. So just like I'm assuming that this Bismarck's hydro's up and ready to go, and most likely popped. So if I even land a torpedo strike, I'll be lucky enough to do that. And I'm trying to infer that this Bismarck, like obviously I think a lot of players here would just use the white indicator, but you have to understand when the New Orleans is spotted, he's probably going to want to turn in to go ahead and contest the cap. So I'm not going to utilize that white indicator fully. I'm going to go ahead and think, well, if he makes a full turn, where he's going to predict, or I'm going to try to predict where he's going to be, hopefully when my torpedoes reach the distance of contact. Um, but yeah, and again, I feel bad for my New Orleans. At least he was a good sport about this because he has to understand, like, there's not much I could do here. I know one person in chat tells me, oh, they burn very easily, like opening up. I think opening up wouldn't have been the right tactic as of yet, because that's kind of giving away my position. I mean, I think the Bismarck, if he's a decently good player, can kind of assume where I'm at anyways, especially now with the direction of my torpedoes missing or whizzing by his ship. He's going to kind of figure that out. But I think patience is our best virtue here. Patience is virtue, and it's our best asset, and we're going to try to play the long game here. I'm looking at how much time I have left. We still have 9 minutes left in the game. I'm looking at the points. They're relatively close to one another, around the mid 600s. There's really no reason to pull any drastic measures here as of yet, or as of yet, because again, we have to play the long game here. If I go ahead and start wasting unnecessary HP, all I'm doing is giving away my position and just making myself easier to kill the next time I'm spotted. So again, patience, patience, patience. Though at this point in time, I'm like, there's just no way I'm going to win this game. 3 battleships, they're already contesting the final cap. Good luck, right? I don't know what I'm gonna need more than just a my overall play style or IQ to win this game and pull it back as a victory, which I think most people in this situation would be like, yeah, it's a loss. And yeah, and they're definitely not wrong. I 100% thought this was a loss. And turns out, like, I'm just spoiled it right there for you guys. But at the end of the day, like, somehow I pulled this game out of my ass, and I just focused strategic targets, and I'm able to actually pull this game back, which is fucking incredible. The West Virginia gets spotted, so I'm just gonna go ahead and shoot him. I know I just need to land my 135s on him to hopefully bring him down. And my HE shells do pretty damn good damage. Again, these are bigger caliber shells, right? I think they are the 135s, if I'm not mistaken, on the Le Terrible. No, dude, oh my god, I'm wrong. It's 139s. The whole fucking time I've been talking about 135. So they're 139 millimeter guns. That's my mistake. I guess I just completely forgotten spaced. I thought they were 135s. But yeah, 139 millimeter guns. They're bigger guns, and they do a lot of good alpha damage if I can hit. And look at that. We end up turning a 3-on-1 into a 1-on-1 against an Iparanga. Obviously, the guy's secondary batteries are the best of the 3 ships that were in the game. Obviously, we're just down to 1, so he is obviously he was the best secondary ship in the game, in my opinion, and he is still alive. So I know in a gunfight, I'm gonna have to be careful. He also has that F key, especially if he procs his F key. It's gonna be very bad news for us. So we're gonna have to play this smart. First thing I was thinking was, okay, if he's just gonna try to run away, I'm gonna try to utilize my speed to go and start capturing B while defending this. What is this, C cap or A cap? A cap. If I can defend A, I'm going to go cap B. Maybe I can go ahead and rip over to C as well. I mean, the time differentials, we're neck and neck with the points. So it's the only thing I can think of at the moment. I think he doesn't know necessarily where I'm at. He's going to try to turn out. And he's probably going to try to head more to B and try to wait to see what my move is. I think there is a misplay by me here. I should have waited to torpedo this torpedo salvo, and I may have been able to pick him up earlier. If I would have waited to drop my torpedo load right before I went behind this island, I think I might have had the range to hit him. But I was a little eager McBeaver here. I thought he was going to start turning back in towards me to try to come cap and maybe go towards B to defend. And I dump it just a little bit too early, and I think it's maybe a couple hundred meters before making contact with his ship before they fizzled, which is the infamous destroyer torpedo fizzle in this game, which is fucking hilarious. So yeah, so we go ahead, see if we can get a fire on him. Sure enough, we do. I'm thinking, man, maybe if he can pop his defensive or does damage control party, then maybe if our torpedoes hit, he'll flat out, boom, game over. Of course, my torpedoes just don't have the range. I think he's going to keep sailing kind of diagonally out, which gives him the leeway to go ahead and dodge those torpedoes and make them run to their max range before fizzling. But yeah, what else is there to talk about? The Le Terrible. it's fun. I actually prefer it more than the Leaf Task personally. Um, do I think it's better than the Leaf Task? I don't know. I really don't know. They're so damn close in regards of what they do with their stats that it's like I don't I don't really consider one to be better than the other per se. I think there's not a wrong choice. And when I do down the line series of the French GDs down the road, I'll make sure to highlight when I get to Leaf on Task and do a little bit like dig a little bit deeper to see what the true numbers are here with the ship. Again, with these battle reports, these aren't ship analysis videos. They're not ship reviews. They're just more of a highlighting a specific game and a ship, talking about it for a bit, rambling on, and then you know, showing some good gameplay in the background of the ship. Or usually it's of a game I had, which sparks the idea to do a battle report on the ship. But yeah, we go ahead and torpedo where the Arpranga was going to go. Obviously, he's trying to go sail back to the A cap, try to go ahead and cap it. We landed our two torpedoes or a torpedo on him. We're gonna bait him a little bit. Hopefully, I wish he would have stayed, slowed down a little bit more and tried to, take me there. We're gonna try to get another fire on him with our main battery. Relay booster popped, which allows our reload to be 50% faster, or is reduced by 50%, excuse me. But yeah, we're going to go slide into this cap, so we're going to go ahead and trade captures. And then after this, we're going to rip around and we're going to see if we can go ahead and eliminate them. I'm pretty sure, though, at the end of the day, after I capture this, at this point in moment, I was like, if I capture this, we'll still have two captures. One, we should win the game regardless. And I wasn't getting ready to throw my ship away like at the end of the game either. I was just going to park my ship behind this island and wait out for the score. Again, it was one of those things. Was like if you have to make these decisions because if he happens to get lucky and get the right HE pens on certain areas of the ship that aren't saturated, then he could go ahead and kill me. So I figured, got to play it smart. That's why DDs have the most carry potential in the game, just because they can make decisions like this, where a lot of other ships, like big lumbering battleships or cruisers, for example, that have citadels that are a little bit more detectable. It's just it's harder to do, right? So. Go ahead, shoot him again, get another 2 spicy fires on the guy. He was really, really spicy fire chance, by the way, on this ship. I think we're rocking, what? Where are you? Terrible. 10% fire chance. So you're getting, what, 6 fires per minute, and they can go ahead and pen 23 millimeters of armor. Not bad, not bad in this thing. And you will notice that, too. These ships, especially coupled with the main battery reload booster, can really churn and burn with the fires, baby. I don't think we killed the guy. I think we just ran off the timer, and we ended up winning. But this was a good game to highlight for you guys to showcase just the kind of strength and power of the Terrible and the French DD line, and as well as just showcasing a good game of ranked and really outplaying the enemy battleship players and the enemy team. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, and here's the post-game screen.